morning, everyone. Today, Eric and I are going to be getting started on a fairly big sized project. We are going to be putting in a flower area and some fruit trees behind us. This area, when we first moved here, was actually treed, and we took those trees down last year in preparation for what we want to put here. So what we had done this year was we had about 24 yards of topsoil brought in. Eric's got this whole area leveled and flattened out. We also put a bunch of compost and other things we were able to source locally. So we're really excited for this. We wanted to do this last year, but it just didn't work out with the chicken coop and getting the garden established. And really here in Alaska, you really only get about 3-4 months to do all of your activities. So it's really condensed. And this is the time. We've got to get this done.
So we're calling this our little mini orchard, and it's going to be about 40 feet by I think 25 feet, so pretty good size. And like Arielle said, it's going to house fruit trees, and it's also going to have a flower garden bed in there. And we're going to be fencing the whole thing in, so we're going to be digging fence posts. We're going to be running electrical wire from our electrical fencing over there, so we can run electric wire for the moose. So definitely tons of work that needs to be done over here. We've already started working this morning. We have 2 yards of compost sitting in our trailer that Arielle's going to be unloading, and I'm going to finish measuring out a couple more of the holes that need to be dug, and then I'm going to start digging holes, and we're going to get some of our fence posts in the ground. These are the logs we're going to be using for our fence posts. I finished peeling this last one last night, and I believe we have about 10 total. So these are spruce beetle kill logs, and we've started using these around the property, and they make excellent fence posts. So this is what we're going to be using for the gate and then all the posts around the garden. This first hole I dug over here went really smooth. We're trying to work on this second one here, and where these are positioned, this is going to be the exact center of the front section of fencing, and that's where we're going to have our gate. But this one right here, I pretty much hit a root that's like that big. It used to be trees here, so I think what I'm going to have to do, I've been working on that for like 20 minutes, it's just not going to work. We're going to shift the gate off center, so I'm going to leave that hole, and then I'm going to start digging a hole on the other side of that. So it's not going to be exactly in the center, but I think it'll still turn out good.
Probably, yeah, we put wood down there. We may have to do something special for these ones. We'll put this in the front, right here. My fingers got lashed together because I had them in the cross section. Ooh, she's a beauty. This is a nice one, bro. Really nice one. Wow, this is so beautiful, this too. These are like, I don't think this weighs 50 pounds.
It's so light now.
It's ridiculously light. Oh my God, no. Hockey.
Oh,
what a beautiful piece of wood.
This is the armor cap, the Alaskan bicep builder. Welcome to this canyon.
At this point, we have almost all of our posts in. We're actually going to be using one post is going to be a tree, still a live tree. So we did that intentionally.
Yep.
Underneath us is a lot of compost and wood. But you know, Eric was able to come in here and really weight it down, so it's nice sturdy ground now.
All of the posts on that front section are buried in existing dirt, so it's really packed down. It's just regular earth. This back section where we have these 3 posts, this is all dirt that we've added, so this stuff's a lot. You know, I drove over with the tractor and packed it down as good as I could, but this stuff's a lot looser. So we're going to do our best getting these things packed in with the sledgehammer, and then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking some big logs we have, some long ones, and we're going to be laying them along kind of the back section of this thing. And
Reinforcing it.
Yeah, reinforcing the back, kind of like a retaining wall almost type thing.
And in the future, we know we may have to add some dirt, but we have plans for that. We've got all our posts in, we've got our clipboard and our notes. We're going to head to the hardware store and also pick up some manure for the flower beds, and then we will be back and work on this a little later tonight. Do you need more dirt your way, or are you good?
I think I'm good.
Okay. That'll be perfect. And then we just start. Would you want to just start ours here, or would you even want to put one more third one up? And you need it probably on your side a little more. Closer?
Yep.
Closer? Is that good?
That's good.
Okay. Awesome.
All right, it's about 10 o'clock at night. The mosquitoes are getting horrible out here. We're gonna call it quits for tonight. We're gonna pick back up tomorrow morning. What's up, Bo?
I can lift it with you here if you want.
We'll get it down in there. We can
Move it.
push it away. Okay, you come rolling down?
It's gonna roll down on me.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I want to roll. I want to push it up like here.
Yeah,
Oh, there's too much dirt right here, honey.
hold on.
Can you get a shovel? Oh, perfect. Right?
Perfect.
Wow. Ah! And what I would do is, if you have any bigger ones, is put them in the middle. And then I'm going to put some thick ones back there that are going to just go to the post, you know what I mean? Like right there. Because it's just the way it went.
Yeah, earth a little.
That's right. Yep. Perfect. I'm going to get 2 of those weird ones and put them right there. Eric and I finished our reinforcement of this back end of the orchard, I'm going to call it. And we already started laying down some logs for where we're going to put future flowers and some herbs and just some things from the garden that we can't fit, but primarily it's really for flowers. We've started the layer with wood. We're doing that for a few different reasons. The first reason is because we know that the ground is probably going to sink a little bit over time since there is a little bit of wood underneath the existing soil like we talked about previously, and we just kind of want to have some volume up top in case that does sink down. We live in Alaska, so the wood takes a long time to break down, so I don't actually think that's going to be a huge issue dramatically. You know, over the years we may just see it go down a little bit. We're also using the logs because they are beneficial to garden. They're beneficial to the soil. So there's something called hugelkultur, which I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but it is where you layer logs as your first layer of a bed, or even you can kind of like dig out a crevice in the ground and put that, and then you kind of layer materials on top. There's a specific order and a specific, you know, way to do that, but we're kind of going off of that, and we're going to have these logs lay down first, then we're going to be coming along and putting some horse manure, which is next. We'll probably do compost after that, some leaves. In the future we're going to do more compost, some soil, and then we will have a nice big mound that we can plant off of, and over time the wood's going to break down. Eric's going to get the trailer backed in here, and we're going to get the horse manure unloaded first. Straight if you want. You can turn that. Made it.
Don't want to hit that back post.
Hey, this is good stuff, man. Both trying to help. Keep going?
Yep.
How far?
It's good.
That's good?
Yep.
It's always just so cool to see them come out
Come
a
out,
certain
yeah,
way.
turn out.
Yeah, turn out, I guess. In like a forest. Just knowing how our pigs were. They pretty much like to sit out in the sun though. Would it make it? I think someone should pull up a little. I think that would make it easier.
Sure.
No? I gotta show you something really freaking cool. Watch this. They were like going at different times. So I thought
Oh,
that
this is really
was
cool. I'm
sick.
glad I stuck around for that.
I know. That was the show. So Eric and I are putting on the compost now. We already have a layer of horse manure, and I thought I might add that this horse manure that we picked up, it's partially broken down. It has bedding mixed in it. Pretty much that's extremely common when you pick up manure at a farm because their animals are usually, you know, eating or have hay or straw. So you usually get some bedding with it, which is great because again, the manure is green, the bedding or, you know, straw is brown. So that's already making the perfect mix for compost. And once it's broken down, this is the exact same thing, pretty much years old, and it looks just like dirt. You know what I mean? There's absolutely no bedding, there's no manure or anything like that. So the idea with using partially broken down compost and fresh compost is that the actual compost itself has a lot of nutrients available for the plants, but the part that's still breaking down, it really attracts a lot of organisms to come break it down, which is beneficial to the soil in the long term. So you're getting the benefit of the bugs being present, I like to call them, and you're also getting that benefit of like a continual nutrient supply as all of the manure and the bedding breaks down. And it's not really super hot or fresh or anything like that. It has already started to break down just a little bit, you can tell. I'm a really big fan of gardening like this with the layers. I think it really makes for a really healthy garden. A lot of people start with just compost and soil, and that's totally fine too. That's kind of like a jump start. That's going to get you going right away. What we're doing really takes a few years to get, you know, some good soil over that time. We're going to finish off this row with some topsoil, and that's going to be what we probably plant directly in next year. A few other things we're going to add to the bed are leaves, spent barley. We'll add some straw probably, and anything you add, whether it be coffee, wood ash, even kelp or whatever you can get where you live, you know, just be mindful of what it is, if it's acidic, if it's alkaline, or if it is brown or green material. I think great. Let's see what we just saved. I mean, you think that's a good width?
Yeah, heck yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, it'll slide down over time.
Another thing I want to mention about these beds and why we love them so much or build them up like this is we're fortunate enough to have farmers around here that actually give all this manure and compost to us for free. It just costs us gas money, so it's another reason we like doing it this way. Next thing we're going to do is we have a bunch left over on the trailer. I'm going to back it up over by our compost or that pile of compost we have over there. We're going to unload it, and then we're going to get started on putting in some cross beams on these fence posts and kind of strengthen them up a little bit.
That's solid, I'd say. You're good?
Go a little further than you tell me.
Well, you can go further then.
Yeah.
She's always really nice at scheduling it.
She loads us up.
Sorry, I don't know what to say. Philosopher Arielle. Philosopher Arielle.
That works really well. gotten a ton of work done on the orchard. We got all of our fencing up. We added one more post over here because this section was a little bit too flimsy, so we got that in. And we also added some cross beams over here. And this back section was the section that we added in the fill dirt, so it wasn't as hard packed of dirt, and that's why we wanted to reinforce these back posts a little bit. Arielle also finished this bed, and she finished it off with just a little bit of topsoil. So we have a long 40-foot bed in here that we're going to be using, which is great. We have all of our holes marked out where we're going to start digging for our fruit trees, and that's the next step, digging these big holes.
Thunder, feel the thunder.
I'm burnt.
Lightning and the thunder.
Why don't we have a backhoe and tractor?
We don't need a tractor. We can barely figure out where to put our stuff.
We're simple living.
I think I'm gonna use that rebar hoe. Woo! Sun came back out. Alright, so we are done digging our fruit tree holes. We dug all 7. I think Eric dug 4 of them or 5 of them. And we have 5 apple trees to plant and 2 plums.
Yep, and it's not just planting fruit trees we're doing out here. We still have a lot of plans for this little area. We're doing some really cool things.
And tonight we're just going to finish by planting some extra plants and perennials I have in the bed behind me.